The 1930s was a period of great development for half-track armored vehicles. In this trend, the French company Citroën's designer Adolphe Cagrès designed the Cagrès track, a type of soft rubber track suitable for half-track vehicles in the 1920s. After extensive testing, the P28 half-track armored vehicle began production in 1930. In October 1930, the infantry units of the French Army proposed the N Plan, which aimed to develop a weapon carrier that could be driven by a single person and carry mortars and corresponding ammunition, similar to the concept of the British ultralight tank. The P28 used a half-track structure with front-wheel steering and was designed for single-person operation. By the summer of 1931, 3 vehicles had been produced, each with minor structural differences. However, the infantry units were not satisfied with it at first, but this did not mean the end of the P28. During testing by the infantry units, the French cavalry units were impressed by the high mobility of the P28. At that time, the light cavalry units proposed the concept of a light armored vehicle, which aimed to use light motorized vehicles instead of cavalry units for reconnaissance tasks, although this concept was still being explored. By the end of 1931, Citroën presented 2 different configurations of the P28 armored vehicle to the cavalry units. In general, these armored vehicles reinforced the original weapon-carrying cargo area and installed a small rotating turret on top, which could accommodate a crew member for operation. One turret was cylindrical and mounted a 37mm SA-18 cannon, while the other was larger and had an unidentified weapon. These 2 prototype vehicles were mainly for display and were not practical, but they still caught the attention of the cavalry units, who placed an order for 50 vehicles. These orders were not standardized, and there were some differences between batches. In July 1932, Citroën provided the first batch of armored vehicles, consisting of only 2 vehicles, each with 55 horsepower and 67 horsepower engines. Later, the cavalry unit specified that they wanted the 67 horsepower engine, and the position of the riveted turret was moved from the rear of the vehicle to the middle of the body. The planned armament was a 7.5mm Mach 31 machine gun with observation windows on both sides and the rear of the turret, and the vehicle commander also served as the machine gunner, entering from the top of the turret. This cavalry type of P28 weighed about 4,540 kilograms, was 4 meters long, 1.63 meters wide, and 1.96 meters high, with a maximum speed of 53 kilometers per hour. The crew consisted of only a driver and a vehicle commander. The armor protection was quite special, possibly due to cost considerations. The vehicle's 9mm armor was made of ordinary low-carbon steel, rather than standard military-grade steel. As for the reason for this armor requirement, it can be seen from the use of the P28 by the cavalry units that these 50 armored reconnaissance vehicles did not form a combat unit, but were distributed to various cavalry units for training. It was more like a training vehicle used to explore related tactics, so armor protection was not necessary. In addition to use by the French cavalry, some South American countries also purchased the P28. For example, the police in Montevideo, Uruguay, were equipped with them, although it is said that this order was originally intended for Paraguay. Many people believe that these armored vehicles purchased by these countries actually came from the 50 vehicles purchased by the French cavalry, which were then resold. By the time of the Battle of France in World War II, the P28 was not required to be deployed to the front lines because of its questionable combat capabilities. As a result, after the Battle of France, the German army successfully captured a portion of the P28. The German army was very eager for armored weapons, and many of the abandoned armored vehicles from the British and French forces at Dunkirk were recovered, repaired, and reused by the German army. However, the P28 did not receive favorable treatment, and it was soon scrapped.